So what I found in the clips, okay, this is a whole, and when we drive to New York, which is way sooner than I think both of us realized, because I sent you that screenshot. I know, same. But so on the way, we'll do a podcast on the whole drop down experience and stuff, and like the whys behind it. But what I realized in the clips, okay, so, and we've touched on this before with you, is like directional and rotational, right? So I think over the top, you're obviously more directional energy, and it's a little bit easier to like navigate like your trunk and the way that works, you know, throughout, you know, the drive and the load and the launch. Where you're like, when you're a 3/4, at least speaking from personal experience, it's like a generation of kind of more excess rotational energy and not so much emphasizing like the directional aspect at release, right? Because I've noticed when I follow through now from here, it's like this, whereas before it was like trunk boom out and like this kind of. And so what I realized was that I'm still working at the same like tempo and the hand's still moving the same, but I don't have a mechanism with my trunk to like tilt to provide like more time, which is interesting because like I've always said you don't need as much time with the hand path shorter, right? But I still don't have that much time as I did when I was over the top, because I'd have this because it was like a seesaw, like boom, boom. But when I'm like just here, it's just like you see my trunk and my hips are just like kind of moving in one, and there's no like get, you know. And that's why I realized like when I do this, it's like it's weird. I still get in like the same slot, but just how I got there and the tempo of which that got there and this got down is a little bit different. So that's like, I was out here like 20 minutes ago and I was just throwing, and I was like, okay, well, I know numerous guys that throw from similar slot that still can do this. Adam Ottavino was the guy that I was talking about. I couldn't remember his name, but he does like an overemphasized front side and whatever. But for some reason, it does not feel comfortable to go like a little tilt to load and then to come into this slot. So I know we joke about going back to over the top guy again, but that's the only mechanism that I can feel getting into this, like just getting into a release slot, like consistently at the timing of this. So I mean, we're pressed for time, honestly. That's the tough part, is like, I would love to be like, all right, I'm going to do a whole week experiment of just like, I'm going to do that. For some reason, dude, I don't know why, it just feels like when I do this, my first move is to then have this go. Cause like, I don't know if you ever seen like slow-mos of me when I'm over the top, but like, it almost looks like it climbs and then this elbow goes like way up here and then here. So like,
you know, kind of do that the same.
Yeah.
Where we both kind of do that climb.
Yeah. Yours is better. Like it's tough, right? Cause it's a visual thing. Like visually, especially when you slow it down, my mechanics from drop down slot, grenade slot, whatever you call it, look more appealing, right? And I heard a segment, Casey Smith, Out Front Hitting, it's my guy. He was talking about like, sometimes in a swing, it's gonna have flaws. It's gonna look funky. But like, if you have that athletic foundation, you can make those adjustments over time, and that's just the way that you make it happen. And it's like, don't mess with that, right? Like, don't change that. And that's what I thought about like myself too, in the sense of over the top might look less visually appearing in terms of like, you know, the elbow spiral, like the shoulders level, you know, trunk going at a better timing or whatever it may be. But I was just like, okay, well, like, yeah, you have visually appealing, but then you have like, what am I feeling? And that's like the third live I think I've done drop down, I think. And it's just like, there's so many times when I'm like throwing that I'm just like, I throw a pitch and I'm like, I have no idea where that's going, you know? And obviously like, you can have the discussion of like, oh, it's new, you just need more reps and stuff. But I really think it's just like, okay, well, my body knows how to do certain movements to accomplish that goal, that it's probably too late in the party to try to change that up.
So what's your conclusion?
Well, I kind of want to play catch. Like I tried a little bit on the mound, but it was just kind of whatever, just to see it. But like, you're not a big tilt guy. Like I think you used to be.
Used to.
But I think ever since you started really like emphasizing like getting going a little bit more, like it kind of got away. But I noticed with you,
very slight now.
that's what I'm saying. As I noticed with you, like just looking side by side at like hip bone, and then like shoulder, and just seeing like, is there a point in the delivery descending from this leg lift that it tips the scale like a little bit? Because in my opinion, that's kind of all you need, you know, in terms of loading and buying this time. And like you are like there, and then you go, and me, it's like I just go, which is gonna just totally throw off my loading phase. But then I look at my long toss, and this is a whole nother piece that just confuses the frick out of me. Long toss, task completion. If I have to throw the ball in the air, right, and like get it to a far away target, my body goes, okay, how do we do that? And then that's when you see this, you know, and I come out in very similar slot, like drop down. But like when it's on a downhill slope, you know, my body just doesn't feel like it needs to organize in that way to accomplish the task of throwing it to that location.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, we'll play around with it, but
I don't really tilt that much anymore, but I know I need just a little bit, just like a teensy little like shoulder, like okay, I'm like, because I don't want to get stuck back there, and I don't like to load into it and be like, because once I do that, all of a sudden I'll swing, or like, because I'll be like, oh, gotta go. Yeah. But I do a little bit because it gives me that reinforced like.
Right. Yeah, you're expressing of energy directionally.
Yeah, the old me was super directional.
Yeah.
It was like boom, stick, tilt, and just boom.
So, and that's a whole nother thing that I was sitting here thinking about. Like I was thinking web with the stick, right? And I used to have a stick in high school too. The stick is actually that mechanism to then amplify the freaking trunk to get back here, right? Because you almost have like a spot to go with the hand. Yeah, so I don't have a stick. I have like a pocket little deal here that like I could full well be super far out in front and like super high acceleration, and I could still find a way to be up, ready to go, just because that's how my hands work. Right? So even I came out here, like my first couple throws, I was doing this. I was like a little Evaldi piece.
Don't even say the E word.
Dude, I was watching Evaldi.
I love that guy.
I literally watched like so many different guys of like how they generate energy. And that's a whole nother segment that you could talk about, is like how people generate certain like directional, rotational, forward accelerate, whatever. And like watching the mechanisms they put in place. Like Walker Bueller's a good instant. He's directional, right? But trunk tilt. Clayton Kershaw, directional tilt. Luis Castillo, rotational. Finishes kind of like this. Even Evaldi does both. Yeah. Right? Evaldi's, he's like high 3/4. Yeah. But he does both. He gets this going.
Gets a little stick.
And
him and Ottavino, even though they're very different types of pitchers, they're very similar, as they both kind of have this little like boom, extension, stick almost. Yeah. And then one just kind of is more here, and then the other one's a little
side, And also got Ottavino's slider grip too, so play around with that.
Don't even get me started. Ottavino, so when I got my velo back in JUCO, towards the end I was watching and trying to mimic a lot of Ottavino, Evaldi, someone else. Can't remember their name.
Robby Rowe?
No.
Dang it.
Because I wasn't short arm yet.
The mic is on top of the camera if you want to put that on the hat.
Okay. Chris Paddock.
Directional.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of that, and then I switched, and
I would just say like it's interesting too, because it's like, what are the key pieces to determining how a thrower should throw? Yeah. In terms of like, what energy production are they generating the most of? And you would look at the drive leg load, and you would look at the glove side direction. Yeah. So like for me, I've always been like out, right? Like almost counter rotate without kind of the trunk counter rotating. So you would think like, oh, he's probably going to be really good at directional, but like I'm not. Yeah. So I think I'm just a walking identity crisis. Yeah. Is that what we got today? Good.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying in the live too. I clipped it. I was like, it's cool from that drop down angle that I could literally do this and be like 85.
Yeah.
But like the times where I'm like, all right, I'm going to amp up and I'm going to grunt, it's like 91.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait.
Or it's 92, but almost hit me in the toe type.
Exactly.
Thing.
Like super like cut off and whatever. And it just doesn't make, like, it actually does kind of make sense in my head. But like with over the top, with like the directional, I feel as if my body does different organizations to complete like the task of, okay, we're going to ump up on this one, right? It's like, okay, it's 02.
Yeah.
And I was like 92, and now I'm like, okay, 02, 95.
Yeah.
So my way of generating more is actually like more holding of like this load.
Yeah.
And then boom, forward.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I try to do that when I'm here, I don't do the
Yeah.
I just think like more and then I get to the point where it's like, okay, well now I'm cutting myself off. It's not consistent. It's different tempo, all this crap. So I don't know. That was good though. I just wanted to kind of talk out loud over that.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you probably haven't had too many people to talk about it with.
No, I honestly was going to just record a segment of me just talk, like literally just that.
Just
but
letting it out.
The fact that you can give me some head nods and some like, yeah, that makes sense.
Affirmations, like let you know that I'm with it.
I think really helps me out in the long run.
Yeah.